Hey everybody, welcome to the Pop Culture Squadcast Live. It is just going to be me tonight for a little bit. When our guest comes, we'll bring her in. Mike's not going to be able to make it tonight. He's having uh, technical difficulties, but hopefully we'll get those straightened out, and he'll be back on with us next week. We will have a show next week as we do every Tuesday night. So please make sure that you subscribe, follow, get notified that we go live every Tuesday night at 8 o'clock on Pop Culture Squadcast Live. We've been doing this now this is our fourth year. This is our 125th episode. And we have a great lineup scheduled for the next couple of months. I hope everybody's having a good time out there. I hope everybody's staying safe and warm. Staying safe is the operative word these days. We talk about it a lot. It's part of everybody's culture and discussions. We come here and we talk about comics. We talk about movies and TV, and hopefully to escape a little bit. I'm going to talk about a couple of things early before our guest comes. Hopefully, she said she'd be here in about 10 minutes. So we'll get to Emma shortly. If you're not aware, Emma Kubert is going to be our guest, and I've been really excited to have her on. I've been wanting to talk to her, in this type of environment for as long as I've known about her work, because the moment I saw her first work posted online, I was enthralled. I'm like, this. She has something that's pretty impressive, and she's gone on to continue to do that. She's a working artist and writer in the business. She's also a teacher at the Kubert School. It's amazing that you have a name that actually is the name of the school you work at. It's pretty cool. We'll get to that. Couple of things, and I kind of want to point you guys to popculturesquad.com, because that is the foundation of what Pop Culture Squadcast comes from. We have columns that come out on a weekly basis. We have things that come out as well, but a lot of times Mike and I will talk about things that he's written about, or that one of our other colleagues on the site has written about. I want to talk about a couple of the columns that came out this week. So again, go to popculturesquad.com if you haven't been there, and check out what's going on there. Yesterday, Mike made a point to bring out the sale, the most recent sale of a particular type of Action Comics #1. Action Comics #1. Everybody says that's pretty impressive. That is a big deal. Well, there is a CGC graded 9.0 copy of Action Comics #1 in existence. We don't know. It's slabbed, so it's in there. What's in there? They tell us it's a 9.0 copy of Action Comics #1, which we like. Sorry, I'm just trying to grab this. Grab a copy of this file, this picture. Anyway, this particular copy was owned by Nick Cage, and it sold recently at auction. For how much, folks? How much do you think it was? I remember when Action Comics #1 sold for like several $100,000. I remember when it was over $1 million. This copy sold for $15 million. It's a lot of money. It's a lot of money to spend on a piece of plastic, because that's what you're spending it on, right? It is. It's just a piece of plastic. Can't ever read it. Can't ever read it. No, 3 million, way too low. Way too low. Multiply that by 5, and that's the number. Anyway, now you might say, hey, well, Nick Cage owned it. Nick Cage was kind of Superman, so that's pretty cool. But like, it's something when you can throw around that kind of money um, for things that just seem, I don't know, feels like there's better ways to spend money. And I love comics, and they're great to be read. I went to my local shop last week to pick up my books, and they had a they had a box of you know reader copy, I guess is the operative word. But like I picked up, these books, a couple of them, I don't know, some interesting books that have some age, some good smell. But like I love to read this. I love to pick this up. Look at this one. This is a Batman Family Giant with Batgirl and Joker's daughter. I guess she was not called Harlequin at the time. Um, Ernie Chua cover inside. Irv Novick art, and Vinnie Coletta links. So there's that. Um, in the meantime, like it's just I think it's a conversation that needs to be had. Like we should pay creators, we people who make art, whether it's written art or digital art or painted or colored or even lettered, people who do a craft, they should be paid. They should be paid a living wage, or more if it's deserved, of course. But when we're just that obscenity in terms of language, in terms of money, is just insane. um Appreciate that thought. That's a thought that I had, and I apologize for my mood tonight, folks, because it's definitely a little tough tonight. The other thing I wanted to talk about, and it's something we've talked about on this show. We talked about it actually last week. I don't know if you guys know, but in case you haven't heard, sometime in the next 12 months, less than 12 months from now, there's going to be a new Avengers movie. It is called Avengers Doomsday. It has what we know is Doctor Doom as Robert Downey Jr. We don't know much more than that, but we do know that it is Robert Downey Jr. as Doctor Doom. That's what we've been told, and that's all we can. That's all we can do. Um, what is? I didn't want to share that right just yet. We'll get back to that. Um, uh, what's interesting though is that it's 11 months from now. And our friend Mark Alan Fishman wrote a column today. It's right there on popculturesquad.com in his thanks for the so long and thanks for the Fishman article. Um, it is about Doomsday, about how what are we going to do? We're going to have to keep going. And he was talking about the first three trailers. There's a fourth trailer. Excuse me, folks. There's a fourth trailer out now, and not only is there a fourth trailer out, but there's more. You can now go to YouTube, and there is a doomsday clock counting down the hours, the minutes, the days, and the months till Avengers Doomsday. I don't know what to say about this, folks. I don't know what to do. What are we doing here? 11-month countdown. I'm excited for the movie. I want the movie to be good, but 11 months. Wow. That's all I have to say is wow. How I mean, there's hype, and then there's a little bit of ridiculous. I don't know what to say, folks. Um, okay, I can't stop. Okay, we can't have this anymore. Too much sticking. Too much sticking. We're done with that. But how about it? Um, I'd love to know what you guys think. Let us know. Um, we're gonna get to our guests in just a minute. Again, I want to thank you guys, everyone, for being here, for listening to us or me today. But make sure you like and follow and subscribe to wherever we are. I know I've said that already once. I'll probably say it again. We love doing this. As I said, this is our 125th episode. Doing this every Tuesday. We're going to be back next week. Next week, our guest, just to prelude that, is going to be Cami Garcia, who has worked with our guest tonight on one of her books. And we're going to bring in Emma just in just a moment. As I said earlier, I've been a huge fan of hers since the first thing I ever saw her post on Instagram. And this is a bit of a dream come true to have her on tonight. So I'm going to get to her and bring her in right now.
Hi.
Hi, Emma. How are you?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Good. Thanks for doing this. We really love it. We really appreciate it. Sorry, Mike's not going to be here tonight. I had mentioned he has technical. He's got some hearing aid issues tonight, so hopefully we'll get those fixed. And maybe we'll get you back on another time to talk with him.
Yeah.
Your name precedes you.
Okay.
And that's got to be something to deal with in the industry that you're in. And part of that is kind of the first question I really wanted to get at was, you're coming from a family of comic book creators. Your dad, your uncle, your cousin, your grandfather, and more. But why did you want to do this? Everyone has all the opportunities, but you said, I want to follow in the family tradition. What was that about?
Well, I guess, we can start from the beginning. I might as well, since this is the first question. Well, growing up, I would say the main thing that I've always known what I wanted to do, it wasn't comics. It was just to create art and create stories. Like, that's all I've ever wanted to do with my life, ever. Part of that was just from me, myself. I am a creative person. Hi, Sherry. I'm just a creative person, but the other part is my family. Like, when you see, people that you love so much, and I do love my family a lot. They're very great people, and they work really hard at what they do, and they're very successful at what they do. You can't help but look up to that, whether you go into that field or not, right?
Sure.
Like,
sure.
you really idolize that kind of hard work, that kind of dedication, like humbleness as well. Like, they're really people who treat this, like the comics, and what they work on, they treat it as something they love to do, but they also treat it as a job that makes them money, a job that, supports their life. So from the very beginning, I knew that being a comic book artist, you'd have to be realistic, and you'd have to know not only like the good parts of it, but also like the hardships that come with being a comic book artist, even if you have a little bit of ties through nepotism.
Sure. Listen, that is everyone has their own way. There's this old saying that that no one knows how to get into comics. It's just however somebody figures it out, then we close the door behind them.
But that's not what we're trying to do here.
No.
And like,
the door closes. Let's say we don't. I didn't say we. The door. Everyone has their own individual journey, and yours you had people who you knew, who were close to you, who had a way to give you And I don't want to say
Foot in
that.
the door.
I don't want this to come across because I know explicitly that you worked really hard and you are.
No, it makes sense. Like, think about it this way, right? Like, if you're born into something, you already have a leg up,
Mhm.
right? Like, I think that's just blatant. I think that's
And
something that you can't deny. And it's because, like, you're literally born into an elevated position just being surrounded by people with knowledge.
well,
Like,
and that's the point that I want to get at. The
yeah.
knowledge that you have of the things that a lot of people learn,
Hmm.
the hardships that people learn,
Yes.
you had preview knowledge of. Not that
Yeah.
that makes it any easier, or not that means you won't have those same hardships, but at least
Uh-huh.
you have awareness of it, right?
Yes, and I would say that's part of the reason why I was deterred from wanting to work in comics for a
Sure.
very long time. And it's just because like being a comic book artist is very or a creator in general, it's very similar to like being a freelancer or owning your own business or being like, it's similar to being a content creator who makes money at what they do. You have to do it for a long time before you can actually really make money at it or
Mhm.
make money that really supports you. So that was one of the things that I knew from the very beginning that I would have to go through to do what I wanted to do. Right. So when I was younger, comics weren't really the art form that I reached for constantly. Like I liked certain comics when I was younger, but I didn't really like superhero comics, and that's kind of what I was surrounded by.
Sure. I
Um,
mean,
so when I looked at all the superhero comics around me, they didn't, I would just say I just didn't relate to them.
mhm,
As you know, like a young girl growing up, I don't
sure.
really relate to a billionaire in a bat suit, you know.
Yeah.
So it's one of those aspects where you you kind of reach for the art forms that you like the most or that you feel like you're most related to. So when I was younger, I had a huge interest in animation.
Mhm.
And so essentially when I graduated high school, I went to Savannah College of Art and Design to study animation and storyboarding. I went there for 2 years and then I dropped out because I didn't
Okay.
want to be an animator.
Okay.
And even before this, I dabbled in all different kinds of art forms. It wasn't, again, just like drawing. I loved performance art. I loved music. I loved writing. I loved a lot of different kinds of art that allowed me to tell stories. That's pretty much it. And as I said, that was always like my one true goal in life was to tell stories with my art. I just had to find the right medium. So I
Mhm.
felt like throughout my entire, childhood and adolescence, I was trying out every single other art form besides comics until I dropped out of SCAD. I came home, I decided to go to the Kubert school, and that's when I was like, maybe comics are for me. Like
Okay.
reluctantly.
Well, I think you're for comics. Let's put it that way.
Wait, say that again?
I think you're for comics.
Yes. Yes.
I don't know that. I mean, it doesn't have to be that comics are for you, but I think you are good for comics. That's
Oh,
my.
I appreciate that.
Um, no, you are. So it's interesting because one of the things you said earlier was that your goal was to tell stories with your art,
Hmm.
and you are an excellent storyteller. It's
Oh,
one of the
thank
things that attracts me to your art. Even a single image is always you put so much story into each
you.
image, and I see that, and I can tell how you're doing it. And so so you went through Kubert school. You did that whole thing because we've had
Yeah, I did
plenty
the
of
whole
Kubert
thing.
graduates on this show, or Kubert alumni on this show.
Hmm.
Um, and and then you went out and you went to make your own comics, and
Yeah.
you've done that in a lot of different ways. One of the things I wanted to talk about, and we kind of saw in the little montage earlier, is
Mhm.
you have you've worked a lot where you're writing for yourself or with a writing partner, but writing and drawing for yourself. And then there are roles, work that you've done that is, somebody else is writing, you're drawing. That's always a huge challenge for every artist. How do you handle it? Do you approach that type of a project differently? Do you have a different mindset when you're working for somebody else's script, or if it's for your own script as an artist?
I do actually. I think it's really important when you're collaborating with people that all of the voices are heard. It's not just the writer who's heard, it's not just the artist who's heard. It's not even just like the inker, colorist, letterer that's, heard. It's everyone. Everyone is working together to create a product that is so unique that one person can't do it. And that's what I find the goal of collaboration is. So when I, go into projects where I'm collaborating with a writer, and I'm collaborating with other creators, to me, it's really important to show that, or I guess showcase my ideas, but in a way where it's complementing everyone else's
Is
rather
that
than
hard?
What?
Is that hard?
No, honestly. And it's just because I personally I just love telling stories anyway. And I found that the more that I find different ways of telling stories, the more interesting it gets. Like I find that I constantly try to evolve in that type of way of thinking about stories. Like you have the regular formulaic way of the hero's journey, but then there's other people who will come in and show you other ways. And I like to learn from other people too. So again, that collaboration, it's really nice, it's really helpful, but it is really just about supporting one another and supporting each other's vision and making sure that everyone has the same vision and the same collective voice to create something unique. While as the latter half, you have me writing and drawing and doing everything myself, which I would say in the beginning, it might be easier than collaborating just because I can think of all the ideas myself. I can keep it all on my own desk and on my own page. But then I have to do all the work, and that's a lot.
It is.
And so again, it's you have pros and cons to both. And I think both of them will produce a different and unique kind of story that you can only get when you're creating it that way. So one of my stories, Stoneheart, which I wrote and I drew all by myself, I wouldn't give that story to someone else. I wouldn't collaborate with anyone else on that one. And it's just because that story, I had a very specific way that I wanted to do things. I had a very I guess streamlined process of how I wanted to create the story. But as opposed to, let's say, Pandora, where I'm working with Frank Miller and I'm working with a couple other writers and I'm working with an editor and, letterer and everything, then I have to, again, talk to them and make sure that we're all on the same page and just again, make sure that we all have that collective and unique voice for the project.
So you've done your own stuff. There's 15 issues of Inkheart or Inkblot.
Yeah.
That's a decent chunk of creator own. I mean, you have a writing partner who we love, and
me too.
We love Rusty.
We love Rusty. Right in the other room.
Sure. But how is it to get that story out and to have such a long run on being able to tell a story over, in a sequential and episodic way? It's something that you studied for a very long time. You've been exposed to it a long time, but then to be actually to put your own stuff in that long, what was that like for you guys?
It was really amazing. I would say it definitely gets difficult the longer that you have a comic run. And it's just because of the way that comics work. You know, in the beginning, the first issue is usually the one with the highest sales. And then
Oh,
as
sure.
we go on, you know, it gets lower and
Yes.
lower. And that's just how it goes, you
There's
know,
a whole economy of this that never
whole
is
economy.
beneficial.
So working on Inkblot for a long time, especially at the point in our lives that we were working on it, it kind of proved to be a bit difficult to sustain that longevity.
Mhm,
And it just was because, like, I think we wanted to do other things. We wanted to make a little more money.
mhm,
But Inkblot was a very, very special story to us. It was one of the stories that I was talking about where I was collaborating with my husband, Rusty Glad. He's also a fellow graduate from the Kubert School. I What we would do is we worked very much of the Marvel methody kind of way because we both knew how to create comics.
mhm,
So we would come up with a plot together. I would lay out and pencil everything. He would ink everything. I would color it. He would letter it and write the dialogue as he lettered it.
mhm.
So the way that we did it, we were both writing, we were both creating the art. And it was something that was very special because both of our ideas really went into it and created something that was really unique, really fun. And it really sung with a lot of people because I think like this particular comic came out when COVID hit. And so everyone was
Yes.
inside. They had nothing to do.
And it was
So
difficult to get. I remember it took a while because it was right in that horrible time
it
when,
was.
when
It was our first ever creator-owned project, and then a pandemic hit.
right, and here this is covered at issue 1, and it was a lovely book. I
Yeah.
absolutely did totally and I remember getting, like, catch-ups, like, because Diamond was not and then all of a sudden you get a couple at a time, and
Yep. And
but yes.
it was one of those projects where like I couldn't create this project without Rusty and he couldn't create it without me. It really went hand in hand with each other. Like at this time, I think he was reading The Wheel of Time and I
Oh,
was
okay.
like on my like I don't know, second or third binge of like Buffy the Vampire Slayer and Sabrina the Teenage Witch. So like that kind of combination really inspired
Sure.
Inkblot. And that was something like you can't get that kind of like adolescent angst without me, but you can't get that like high fantasy crazy
Right.
epicness without Rusty's ideas. And that's what really sung with Inkblot, I think. You know, it was really a good combination, but having it go on for so long, I think I just wish that the comic industry sustained a little bit more so that we could work
Sure.
on it longer. And that's about it.
That's fair. That's fair. That's
Yeah.
good. Um, I I wanted, so we talked about those books. So when you're working on something like Radiant Pink, where that
Mm,
or Pandora, that are kind of somebody else's initiation,
yeah.
right? And that you're coming into somebody else's idea
Hmm.
and adding your own stuff. When you do that, what's the first thing you do?
First thing I do. Well, I think like if there's any people who, you know, like want this advice, I guess, because this is how I think of it. If I'm
Well, and let's be fair. I mean, like, everybody has their own advice. Everybody has their own way of doing it. That's why we keep doing this. That's why we keep talking to people,
yeah.
because because everybody has their own method, and we hope that somebody would, get something from your method
Yeah,
because it works for you. So
I agree. Okay. So I guess the way that I think about it, like in collaboration, if I'm like working with a writer, if I'm working with a team of people, I kind of think about it like we're creating like a film or a television show where the writer is the screenplay writer. Like they write the script, it's on paper, but I'm the artist. I'm the person who's showcasing this story. So technically I would be considered like the director, the cinematographer, maybe like character and background designer if they don't have those yet. Things like that. I'm supplying the visuals of everything, and I'm supposed to support what is written on the script. So my first like thing that I do is I read through the script, and I basically put down all of my initial ideas for visuals that I want to showcase throughout this script. I'll read the whole thing. Usually I'll get like an issue at a time. So once they finish like an issue script, then I'll receive it. I'll read through it, and I'll just kind of either write down, or I'll even draw like little thumbnails of like things that I want to include in it. But then I'll do another take and I'll go through it again, and I'll start creating layouts for it, like full page layouts for every single page. And once I finish those layouts, then I send them back to the writer and editor and everyone. So
So you go
everyone,
layouts, not just thumbnails, and you go full on layouts.
I do full on layouts. I think they're really important. I think they're really important so that everyone knows like what direction I'm going in. Like I
Mhm.
don't want to leave anything to chance. I don't want to finish a drawing that's like so beautiful and so amazing, and then the writer's just like, that's not what I wanted.
No, that's fair.
You know?
That's great. Oh, I agree. Um, One of the things that I noticed that you do, or you've done in the past at least, is a lot of the stuff like when you in your social media presence, especially on TikTok, where you go through you go through this tremendously valuable method of how you approach a page or how you approach a particular aspect of art.
Mm.
Um, why do you think that that's important? Because I think it is. But and how does that translate into, kind of beside your comic book making career and your art making career, but your teaching career now? How does that is that part of it? Does it lead to that?
Yeah, definitely. So I started to teach at the Kubert School. I would say during COVID, I was helping doing online classes, and then we were living on the West Coast at that point. We moved back to the East Coast so that I could teach in person. Um, I think the social media presence was something that I've always wanted to do. I just didn't know the exact direction that I wanted to take the presence in. Like, I know every artist out there, they just post, a lot of them post like what they do. Like, they post
Mhm.
their images and the things that they draw. And, you know, I think that's I think that's lovely, but it doesn't sustain it doesn't sustain me really. I think it's mostly just because I wanted to connect a little bit more with an audience. I wanted to provide information that other people weren't providing. Me personally, I think it's really interesting to see the behind the scenes of someone creating things and drawing things. And there's the Batgirl.
Right. So you did film while you were doing this,
Yep.
and
I
and
did.
it is sitting in front of me right now. This is a commission that we commissioned from you. So for anybody who's watching, this is a Batgirl that Emma did for Sherry's um, Batgirl book. But you as you had this task to make this image, you recorded it as you drew it, and talked about what you did, and how, like that kind of concept what type of connection do you think you're getting from people, or did you get a reaction from folks in terms
You
of
know,
what they see?
I think mostly the reaction is like, "Wow, that's crazy."
Wow, it's so good.
Wow.
I love
But
Batgirl.
I think like, there's something that my grandpa would say, my grandpa Joe, he would say that, drawing is like magic. It's literally like, you could see someone work for years and years and years training and doing art and all that stuff, but when you watch someone draw something right in front of you, you don't see that training. You don't see the
No.
years behind what they've studied. You just see what they're doing in that present moment. And so for me, I kind of wanted to, I guess, disillusion that a little bit. Like I really wanted to be like, no, this is a lot of hard work that goes into this.
This is the
Um,
choice I make here, and
there's choices that you make. Exactly. There's choices that you make. And you have to make them all right just to make the drawing look good. If you make a wrong choice, it's not going to look good. So being able to talk through that, especially when it's just like my own drawing, to just like, you know, I don't want to take the magic away a bit, but I also want to like inform people and make sure they know that you're not just reading a comic book, you're reading, a month's work of someone
yeah,
sitting at a table and they've done years of studying to be at that table to create that comic book. Like that's the part that I want regular readers to know, basically. Whether, like you see it and you're just like, wow, that's so pretty, like that's great. Like I love hearing that it's pretty, but I also want you to see the thought behind it and the hard work that goes behind it, even if it's just for, a minute or two.
no, I agree. It's one of the conversations we actually had last week when on the show when I was talking. I had the folks from American Caper on,
Ooh.
and there's so much in that book that I can see through. Like I said, I was saying, I can see through the scaffolding. Like I can see
Mm-hmm.
each person's contribution in certain ways, and I mean, someone who studies and pays attention, reads comics the way that I do, I have that. Like I can see it, and I have so many friends that I will watch, and yes, it's magic to me too. Like I can
Yeah.
watch you do this; it's still magic,
It
and
always will be. Like every time I see my dad draw, it's magic. I've seen my grandpa draw a Hawkman just by dipping his brush in like a thing of ink and just slapping it on a piece of paper. No underdrawing or anything. He just did it. And I was like,
yeah,
what? Like that makes no sense to me, you know?
yeah. It's sure, yeah, but like I said, it's all that,
Mhm.
is decades and decades of him doing that
Yes,
allows that
definitely.
allowed him to be able to do that. Um, since we're talking about Batgirl, there is a question, and
Mhm.
that question is why do you like Batgirl so much?
Oh, that's a good question, Sherry. Um, well,
Because and I'm asking especially because you said that superheroes weren't your thing,
they weren't
and
my thing. I would say, I didn't really get into superhero comics until I was like, I want to say like 19 or 20 years old, like around
okay,
there. Um, and I would say this is also kind of the moment where Harley Quinn got really big. Like
sure,
they introduced Jimmy Palmiotti's and Amanda Connor's Harley Quinn, like their version.
hmm
That's the popular version today. And when I was doing like when I discovered this, I was actually interning. I was actually interning at DC at this time.
okay,
I was in their manufacturing department, so I was like correcting comics at this
hmm
time. Like literally little corrections here and there, little lettering things. And my boss, he came in with like a giant omnibus of Harley Quinn, like
hmm
Jimmy and Amanda's Harley Quinn, and like slapped it on the table with like a bunch of corrections to make. And he was like, hey, this is like your new job. Like this is what you're gonna do, but you can read it as you go. And I was like, oh, okay. So I started reading it, and I just, that was one of the moments where like I was like, maybe I can go into comics. Like maybe this is something that I can do. And it was because of Amanda's art style. It was the way that she had these characters and this strong female character be chaotic and goofy and silly, but also violent and serious. And
Mhm.
like she was all these different spectrums. And I wouldn't say that I relate to Harley Quinn, okay?
No, sure, sure.
But that kind of was the catalyst of me discovering more characters in superhero comics.
Mhm.
So when I started to go to the Kubert school, I was kind of like, like I was immersed in it. I had to really figure out, like, I wanted to learn more. I wanted to do more with it. And so as I was going through all of the characters and everything, obviously Batgirl just sung to me.
Okay.
One, her the way that her personality and her character is that she really is like one of the most like just characters in all of Gotham. Like she is one of the most good characters, if you can ever call anyone that. And it's just because she herself decided to go into this, superhero uh, facade, I guess.
Mhm.
She decided to take up the mantle herself, despite her father, despite everyone around her. And then also, you have the connection of my dad drawing Batman and being
Mhm.
very well known for that. So I just thought, if that's his thing, and that's obviously who he connects with these larger, stronger, more, masculine
Mhm.
characters.
Sure.
I'm gonna do the opposite because I'm different than that, but I'm not that different. So
Well,
I'm
does that
back.
mean X-23 is yours too?
Wait, say that again.
Does that mean X-23 is yours as well?
Oh, I do like X-23
Yeah, there's
though.
your dad connection there, you know?
Exactly. So that's kind of that's part of it, I would say. But again, it's really her personality and character and what is added to it. Like I love the way that Gail Simone wrote her.
Mhm.
And yeah, I would say
That's
that.
awesome. I mean, that's the thing that we talk about a lot here, and, I talk about all the time is the thing about comics is that they're it is a medium of art, it's sequential art, it's telling a story, but it's about character. It's about, there's hundreds of comics on my desk in front of me right now. Well, 50 at least. But all of them are you know, what makes me keep reading them is the stories about people, and whether
Yeah.
they're people or characters, and about how our human condition needs to communicate and survive.
Yes,
Um, you know,
definitely.
but I also do have an old Batgirl on my team.
Love that. Ah.
So, um, so here's the thing about it is that, as I said this earlier, in your art, whether it's this Batgirl that's in front of me, or the Invincible Madam Eve that's hanging on our wall upstairs, or Inkblot or Radiant Pink, um, y- there's so much um, life in your drawing, and I know that's got to. I know that I don't know. Can you quantify it? Because I can imagine must be difficult too. Like, do you know how you do that?
I gotta be honest, no.
And
I I
that's the answer I expect, because that's what makes it special. And unfortunately,
well,
that.
what I would say, it's kind of like your own handwriting, right?
Mhm,
Like the way that you write or the way that you draw, it comes from not only who you're inspired by, but like you and yourself as well, like who you are as a person mixed with everything that you're influenced by. So like I can easily be influenced by like something that's totally different from what I usually like to do, but I'm still being the one to do it. So there's still gonna be that element of, I guess, liveliness to it that is never going to go away, because I feel like that's just an inherent part of who I am as a person. Like
Sure.
I don't want to like say that I'm just like a really happy, lively person all the time, because I'm not.
No.
But I would say in general, I'm a pretty just jovial person who loves what they do and loves the art of creating, I guess. And I guess that can seep into the art itself.
It's interesting, and it's interesting that you know you've been around comic book creators, and you've studied comic book creators, and talking about somebody like Amanda Connor, who has developed a very distinctive style. If you
Yes.
look at an image, Amanda drew it, right? If you
Mhm.
look at something your grandpa drew, he drew it. Like,
Mhm.
that's he's one of the premier you know self-identification kind of artists.
Yes.
But you have that too. There's a lot of things where I can look at an image and I know that you drew it. Um, I think that's a positive. I
I
think
think so too.
you're able to tell stories but you have a style, and it's important. Like,
Mhm.
I think it's important to have a style. It's interesting because I saw a video recently, it's like yesterday. Somebody was talking about it was Jared Harris talking about how someone had told him that he's a chameleon, that he
Mm.
disappears into every role. And they said, that's not always the best thing, because then nobody knows who you are.
Yeah, I guess it depends on what you want, really. Cuz I I've actually kind of experienced that before. And when I was like in the beginning of my career, like in the very, very beginning, when I graduated from the Kubert School, my first couple projects, my first one, I was a layout artist for the Teen Titans Raven graphic novel.
Mhm,
So automatically, I already had like there was already an illustrator drawing over my work. Not a
mhm,
big deal, again. Then the next couple of projects, I did Teen Titans Go, I did DC Superhero Girls, which means that you have to draw on model, which means that
mhm.
you have to draw in a specific style. And if you have that ability to do that, it can make for a really good career. Like I know a lot of artists that are like that. Like one of my favorite artists, and she's a great person too, Agnes Garbowska.
Mhm.
She's wonderful,
Yeah,
and she's
absolutely.
like one of the best artists doing like the Teen Titans Go stuff and everything like that.
Yep.
Um, but I do slightly agree that like if you are looking to be a artist with a recognizable style and voice, you can't really go corner yourself into those kinds of jobs or those kinds of projects. And
It's
it's just
interesting.
because like it really just is because, you're not showcasing your own voice in that way.
It's interesting. This is an interesting conversation, because I had this with with a friend recently, where there's a project that they're looking for. It's a licensed project, but they didn't. It seems like the people who are currently working on that license want um, want people who are not perfectly on model,
Which is great.
right? Like, they want somebody who's added something off the model,
Yeah.
which I think is interesting. But they're also the people who are closest to model that are not getting asked to come back, which
Yeah.
is, there's always lots of edges to every sword, right?
Yeah, and what can you do, Like
Sure, sure.
it's another job. It helps you out, it moves you forward. You see if you're good at it, you see if you're not good at it, and then you do something else. Like when I was working on Teen Titans Go and DC Superhero Girls, after I was done with those projects, I kept asking my editor, I was like, "Do you have anything else? Like, can I work on anything else?" Cuz I was really trying to just do anything.
Mhm.
This was the first year I was really pushing myself to like start my career basically.
Yeah.
And she gave me this talk. She gave me this talk where she was like, Emma, I don't think this is what you want to do. Like, I am here for you. Like, she's a great editor, and I still work with her. I still work with her today. She's one of my favorites. But she gave me this talk, and she was just like, Emma, I don't think this is what you want to do with your life. Like, I don't think you want to work. Oh, Kitty. Oh,
This is Grayson.
hi, Grayson. She was just like, I think you want to draw your own stuff. I don't think you want to draw on model. I will be here for you if you need anything, but I do think you should try other things. Like, I think you should try what you actually want to do. And at that point, I was a little mad because I really needed work.
Sure. Listen, that's all great, but my refrigerator needs food.
Exactly. But honestly, it was way for the best. It really forced me out of like this kind of like chasing after things, and like really forced me to be like, okay, what do I want to do? And that's when we started to create Inkblot, and that's when
Mhm.
when I started to write my own stories, and like it really kind of projected me in a direction that I really wanted to go in. And now I'm actually working with this editor on a book that I am writing and drawing. So
Okay.
it's like what goes around comes around,
I feel like we're gonna have to have you back on the show at some time because there's gonna be a lot of stuff coming out, right? There,
Probably within the next couple of years, yeah.
I would think so. I'm looking forward to that. But I don't want to drop off. I want to talk a little bit more about the school and your involvement there. I mean, it's important to us. Like we talk about the school a lot.
Mhm.
Just because we have so many of our guests come from, go through that, or they go through SCAD, like between the two of them, throw SVA in there and you got like, 80%
Like the Holy
of trained
Trinity.
art. Right. But what's your role right now? And how do you find that to be fulfilling in what you're doing in terms of making stuff?
So at the Kubert School, I am a teacher. So I'm one of the faculty. I teach for the full-time program. The full-time program is a 3-year program to learn about comic book art and commercial art. So you're not just learning about comics, you're learning about like all commercial art, and you're learning basically the foundations of you being able to go into any category you really want. Um, Obviously, it's mostly focused on comics because that's what we're known for. But again, it's a foundation of drawing, of storytelling, so that you can go in any direction in the commercial art field that you want. I teach the first year narrative art class, and I teach the second year basic drawing class this year. It has changed in the past, but I would say narrative art is probably the thing that I'm most known for throughout the school.
Okay.
And then I also
I'm
help out.
glad for that.
Yeah, me too. And I also help out with their social media as well. So if you see any kind of posts from the Kubert School Instagram, most likely that's me. Especially if it's silly. And then on top of that, with other kinds of teaching stuff besides the school, I also created an online course partnering with WeLearn, where I basically created a whole course of pre-recorded videos that you can purchase, how to create comics from start to finish. And then, I have my social media platform where I also post videos and short form videos on how to do whatever's in front of me, basically. And I would say, for myself, teaching is really such an important part of my life. I really love teaching, and I love I love sharing knowledge, especially when it's accessible to people. Like, I think students who come to the school, that's wonderful. And I love teaching them. I love sitting with them. I love making sure they're on the right path. But when you're going to school, you're not just paying for the knowledge, you're paying for the time, you're paying for the discipline, you're paying for the feedback and the critique that you get. You're paying for the individual attention. And not everyone can really shell out that money and that time and that kind of like life. So that's why I really like to have a lot of different options for anyone who really wants to learn how to create comics, because the I feel like the knowledge is accessible. You just, one, have to know where to find it, but two, it's hard to find it in a streamlined way.
Sure.
So again, I've just been trying to do a lot of different avenues with teaching in general, just so that I can cover my bases and provide as much education and as much of a level of education that people can have, that people have access to. And yeah.
If anybody's watching, now or later, in the comments section, there's the link to emmakubertcourses.com, which can get you those We Learn things, right? That's what that's
Yeah.
what, yeah. So besides layout, what is your favorite part about making a comic? Am I right that layout is the favorite part?
Yes, you're right. You chose my favorite part.
I know. That's why I made it harder. Harder questions.
Okay, to be fair, I do like creating the actual comic, okay? Like, I do like drawing, I like inking, I like coloring, maybe not as much as drawing and inking, so we can kind of put coloring over there. Lettering,
You're good
also
at it, though.
can put it over there. Thank you, I appreciate it. But I would say my favorite aspect, not just layout, I want to say like the concept. Like
Character design is an option, right? Something like
yeah,
that.
am I allowed to choose
You're allowed
like
to say that.
before the layout?
Yeah, no, absolutely. That's a fair point. Like it's a big part of
Yeah.
it's a big part of the creative process. And a lot of times, there are people who just are that thing. They're just the character design portion of it, and they say, hey, look, here's the design, somebody else go and draw it.
Exactly. There are some aspects like that. And for myself, like creating, like coming up with the ideas for the story, like even like right in front of me right now, I'm starting to develop this new story, and I'm always frustrated with it. I get really annoyed. I cross things out that I've worked on for days.
Sure.
But I love that part. Like, I love being frustrated and angry about stories. I can't help it because I'm a person that loves to dive deep, and and I feel like I love having like every aspect of like my thoughts activated to like see what moving parts can go into a story. And like, I'm writing and drawing at the same time when I create concept art, or when I create a concept of any sort or a pitch. I'm really like, I'm just haphazardly putting things down on paper. And to me, that's like one of the best parts, where when you put all of these ideas on paper and you're just kind of like vomiting out words and drawings and everything, and then you take a couple of steps back and then you look at what you did and you start putting things together that make an actual story. That's my favorite part. That's my favorite part, where like you see all of the ideas that you came up with and you start putting it together like a puzzle. It's very exciting, and that's what gets me excited to make the actual comic itself,
That's great. That's a great answer. I think that's got to be a lot of people's favorite thing. Like it is,
Okay.
like, because it's the art of creation. It's the primal art of creation, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, I had a question. We've talked about your family. What's what's your dad think about what you're doing? Like did he have reservations? Was he full on? Let's get you here. I can get the impression that your folks were kind of like, hey, you do what you want to do.
Yes. So growing up, my parents, for me and my older brother, they didn't care what we did as long as like we were serious about it, I
Sure.
guess. Like we had a dedication, we had a goal, we had a vision. Like they really didn't care as long as we had conviction, if that makes sense. You
I
know?
just want to also, if I can interrupt for 1 second, I just want to let people who are listening who don't know, Emma's dad is Andy, because I don't think we've said that. Go ahead.
Yeah, I didn't realize. um So for my parents, like they really are just like they're just like do whatever you want with your life. It doesn't matter. Like they again, we talked about this in the beginning where like they knew how hard it was to be an
Mhm.
artist. Like
Yeah.
it's very difficult to be a living working artist.
Right.
Um and so like for me, when I kind of decided to go into comics or to go into art in general, my parents weren't like, no, you shouldn't do that, but they really, really were making sure that I knew what to expect, if that makes sense. Like,
Sure.
um, because again, I don't think any parent is about to send their child into the art industry just because of the nature of it. It's
Right.
a very like high risk, high reward kind of nature. It's a lot of networking. It's a lot of not just not just not just like doing the work, but also promoting yourself and like pushing yourself. And then there's the added pressure or the added, pressure of it all that we have the internet now and we have to advertise ourselves online and our competition is not just the people who are located near the comic company, but we're competition with the whole world
Right.
because
Right.
anyone can put their art on the internet and anyone can do, what can do this really.
Right.
So my dad specifically really made sure that we knew that, me and my brother. But, I knew that this was the only thing I wanted to do. I was like, I can't do anything else. It was too boring. Like, it just can't. I just get bored out of my skull. Like, this is literally the only thing that I can do, and I'm just going to do it until it works. Like, that's all I said to myself. And my dad is like, that's all you can do. Like, that's all you can do. That's what he did. He did it until it worked. And so that was really like the main thing. But since then, he's been really proud. He's been really supportive. Obviously, like with your dad looking out for you, he helps you with advice and things like that as well. But I've also been finding my own way through things
Oh,
too. Like, and I think just at the end of the day, he's just a proud dad, you
sure.
know.
That's fair. That's fair. Um, um, I don't think we can get too much further. We've made it an hour without talking about the fact that we went to the same high school.
Oh my God, how could we?
And I love that. It's funny because I had this conversation earlier today, and we're going to talk about Randolph High School for a second. But I had this conversation with somebody earlier today, and I mentioned that you were going to be on, and that we did go to the same high school, not
We
obviously
did.
at the same time. But and so then somebody else was talking about their high school, and they looked. There's a Wikipedia page for pretty much every high school and like who the famous people are. And let me
Mhm.
tell you, they are lacking at Randolph High School in
They're
terms of
laughing.
who is listed.
Wait,
because
say
first of all, you're not, which is wrong. Um,
that.
uh, it's basically Mike Groh and a bunch of other people I never heard of.
Yeah, I think the only people that I knew that were famous coming from Randolph High School was the writers of Harold and Kumar.
Right, they were after me. They're there. They're listed there.
Yeah.
The writer person who wrote the screenplay to Free Guy also went to Randolph High School.
Oh, really?
He's actually my classmate and friend of mine.
Oh, wow.
So, so there's that too. So there you go. So it's pretty well, but it's, for you, that's right next to where the school was, and it's all that stuff, which was super cool for me being a kid, knowing that just like on the other side of the hill was the Kubert School. Like it was like it, it was in every comic book. It was there. It was this idea. I have met people who were there at the time when I was living, on the other side of the hill. And it's just such an interesting thing when as big as this world is, and as big as we live in this internet, thing where everybody's everywhere, to run into somebody and meet somebody that like, hey, you guys have a similar experience. It's always fun, I think.
Yeah, I think so too. And, like I would say for myself, growing up the town over from the Kubert School was a very magical childhood. Like because it wasn't just, my dad worked there and taught there and everything, but my mom and her sister, my aunt, they started the Joe Kubert art store there. And so, like mom was looking after the kids. Mom, kids get sick. That's where I'm spending my sick day, like at the Kubert School in the back, like watching movies, like I spent my childhood at the Kubert School. That it was a very special place to me. So it makes a lot of sense that it's very special to a lot of people.
That's awesome. So I know you're working on things. Is there anything you can talk about that we can expect to see soon? I know that there's the 1 in 50 cover for Turtles comes out next month.
Yes.
The last issue, that last piece, I think I can grab it up here. But is there anything else that you're working on right now that we can get excited for?
So no, not yet. I am working on a couple of different projects. I would say one of them is probably more likely to come out next year. One of them might come out later this year, but I can't announce it yet. Like I can't talk about it yet. This is coming out very soon, so highly recommend.
This is issue 15, written by Jean Louis Yang. I think Freddie Williams does the interiors, and this is a cover that you can get at your local comic shop or whatever. Like I said, but this is a perfect example of how much story is on a cover, and being the granddaughter of like the cover artist of the 70s, that's a lot to live up to, and you certainly are. I mean, basically you can, if you pick up 20 comics from the 70s, like 3/4 of them are either your dad or Gil Kane. Or your granddad, I'm sorry.
My granddad.
I meant your granddad.
But yeah, I would agree with that. And his covers were always the best. I would say. Like me and my dad actually recently, we were looking at some of my grandpa's original art. And we have a bunch of covers of his. And each one of them had the best composition. It had the best composition. It told the best story in the best way, kept your eye on the page. It was so exciting. And that's what I want to do. Like, especially with covers, like I will say this for anyone who's out there, I'm definitely not a pinup artist. Like, I think I do definitely more with storytelling.
Sure.
But that's where I get it from, is directly from the source. Joe Kubert, if you study his covers, you know everything.
That's true. That's true. You can do absolutely. Well, I'm certainly looking forward to whatever that is that we can find out. And when we do find out what
Yes.
things are, I definitely want to have you back,
Yes.
because this was a lot of fun.
Yes. Because honestly, I do have something most likely coming out later this year. Um, Again, there's just like there's more just things in the work right now. So I would love
Mhm.
to come back on and talk about them.
That sounds like that sounds like something we definitely have to do. This was met all of my expectations and beyond, because I like I said, I remember running across your work on Instagram, like, oh, that's a Kubert. And and I don't know why, and I don't know, you never know how, but like from the moment I saw it, I'm like, oh, I'm following that, because it's just so much. It was so um captivating, and I love it, and I just continue to do that, and your storytelling just continues to get better, and I love the work you're doing, teaching people, and
Thank
bringing education to the medium. It's thank you so much for all of it, and thanks for being here.
and thank you for having me. It's always great to talk about this stuff.
Okay, so thanks so much, Emma, for being here, and we'll talk to you soon.
Yes. All right.
Take care.
Bye.
Okay, everybody, thanks for being here. Thanks for listening to that. I had a lot of fun. If you don't, please follow Emma Kubert. You can follow her. She's easy to find on pretty much every social media platform. As I said earlier in the show, Cami Garcia is going to be here next week. We're going to talk about her work as a prose author, as a comics author. She wrote the Ravens graphic novel that Emma was mentioning earlier, and tons more. And that's another guest that I'm super excited about, that I've been waiting for a while to get. So please be here next week, Tuesday night. As usual, we will be here. We will be talking to Cami Garcia. Hopefully, Mike has his stuff fixed and he'll be here, because that's always the best way to do this show with him and I. And I want to remind everybody to like and subscribe and follow, and however you found this, make sure you can do it again, and read more comics, because they're good for you. They'll move your soul, and we'll see you later. Thanks for being here.
This has been a production on the Pop Culture Squad Network. PopCultureSquad.com. How do you nerd?